Hi everyone. This week we are going to look at lessons 41 through 44. So let's get started. This week you're going to need your lessons manual, the student worksheets, the math card games manual with the game cards, centimeter cubes, the AL abacus, and a dry erase board. This week, your child will do their first assessment of the year and then learn some subtraction strategies. Let's go ahead and turn to lesson 41. This is the first assessment lesson. Your child will actually have another assessment at lesson 77 and then also a year-end assessment. The problems in this assessment are very similar to the review problems from lesson 39. If you discover that your child is struggling with a concept, some of the same things that they struggled with, maybe even in the review lesson, you may want to go back and review that lesson or lessons that covered that material. If you're not sure which lesson or lessons to go back to review, you can watch the overview session from last week and get an idea of what lesson corresponds to that problem. For this assessment, you're going to want to have your child work through as many problems as possible without using the abacus. That way you can see what kind of math facts or types of problems your child is struggling with, and then you can play some math card games to strengthen up those math facts. That being said, go ahead and use the abacus when your child absolutely needs it. We don't want to frustrate our kids, but you do want to stretch them just a little bit. All right, well, let's go ahead and turn to lesson 42. In the warm-up section, your child can use the abacus when answering those multiplication or skip counting questions. If your child struggles with the months of the year section, that last paragraph in the warm-up, you can have them listen to the song that we have available online. You may also want to review the months of the year daily for the warm-up section in the next week or so, even if it's not listed in the warm-up. A couple of my kids really struggled with learning their months of the year, and we actually had to spend a lot more time reviewing and learning the months of the year more than what was directed in the lesson manual. So if your child is kind of stumbling over those months, just keep reviewing them daily and your child will get it. You and your child will work through a couple word problems from worksheet 20 together during this lesson. So take a look at this section called Worksheet 20, Problem 1. With this problem, you will help your child solve it using the part whole circles. Problem 1 really is a basic addition problem with the missing total, but your child might have a hard time knowing what goes in what part. So when helping your child use to learn the part whole circles, you can ask them a couple questions. First of all, be sure your child reads through the word problem 2 times at least. And so here's the word problem. There are 17 boys and 14 girls in a chorus. How many children are in the chorus? So if your child doesn't know where the numbers go in the whole part circles, or they're just kind of stumbling over it, then just simply guide them by asking questions. A question would be like, do we know what the whole amount is or what the total amount is? You may even want to have them read the problem again. In this case, we don't know what the entire amount is or the whole amount is. So we're going to leave the whole circle empty. Then we're going to ask them, do we know any of the parts? And for this particular problem, we do know that there are 17 boys and 14 girls, and both of those numbers are parts and should go in the parts circle. Now, when you're asking your child that, say, so do we know any of the parts? And they should say yes. Okay, what is one part? And then have them say 17. And where does that go? That goes in the part circle. Do we know any of the other parts? So you're kind of guiding them step by step so that they're learning to think through how to use the part whole circles. Then ask, how can we find the whole amount or the total number of children in the chorus with the information that you have? And of course, they see the whole circle empty and then the 2 part circles filled in. So when they see that, they should know that they need to add. to get to the total. Now, I have a couple struggling learners in my home, and you may too. And if that's the case, you may find that knowing which operation to use, they kind of struggle over. One thing that I did was I put the options on the side of my whiteboard, and it just was up there all the time. And so I had a little plus sign, a minus sign, a multiplication and division signs when they got close to it. And it kind of helped them, for whatever, focus in on, okay, I need to choose from one of these, which one best fits. So for some reason that really helped my kids. Maybe it'll help yours. But anyway, they're going to use addition to solve this particular problem. Once your child has calculated the answer, they are able then to write out the equation, which is 17 plus 14 equals 31. Now let's take a look at the problem on the top of the second page. And it reads like this. Jack wants to buy a gift that costs $1. A dollar is 100 cents. Jack already has 85 cents. How much more money does he need? Well, you're going to want to ask your child again, guide them through, do they know the whole amount? Well, in this particular problem, they do know the whole amount, which is 100 cents. Then you're going to ask your child, do you know any of the parts? And in this word problem, we do know one of the parts, which is 85 cents. Then we're going to ask, how can we find the other part? Now you might automatically think, we need to subtract. Well, your child may not actually think in subtraction. They may think that they need to add something to 85 to get to 100. Both approaches are correct. Make sure you let your child think through the problems the way they naturally think through it. There's a comment over to the right in the explanation section that says this. The number in these problems are chosen to encourage the child to think going up, not going down. Research shows that going up is easier. Either addition or subtraction will work for this problem. Some children can solve the problems easier by thinking, how much do I need to add to 85 to get to 100? In fact, one of my kids would do that for almost every subtraction problem until he got to the problems that were just too large, like 3-digit or 4-digit problems. If he saw subtraction, he was adding. What do I need to add to this to get to this? Again, you're going to make sure your child writes out the problems, the equations. Be sure that they know that they can write the problem in both a subtraction and addition form, and it will help solidify how addition and subtraction works together. Then you're going to have your child complete worksheet 20 on their own if they can. Take a look at the explanations at the bottom of the second page. It says this: it is best to avoid the term takeaway when referring to subtraction. It is not listed in the dictionary. The term emphasizes the going back aspect of subtraction, ignoring other meanings such as going up and differences, making it difficult for children to develop a complete understanding of subtraction. Now, I struggled with this with my daughter, and I used the term take away with my daughter, and she took a really long time to learn subtraction. So save yourself a little struggle later on. Be sure you use the term subtraction and not take away. There is not a math card game listed for this lesson. So you're going to want to pick a game, either an addition game or a multiplication math card game. If you're feeling adventuristic, you might want to choose a subtraction card game since we're introducing some subtraction. All right, well, let's go ahead and turn to lesson 43. This lesson is going to start a series of lessons where your child is going to learn some subtraction strategies. In the warm-up section, you will have your child do some skip counting of their 2s and of their 5s. For these activities, your child can use the abacus. But if you'll notice on the second paragraph, at the very end of the paragraph, it says, by merely looking at an abacus. You are going to want to encourage your child to pull away from using the abacus by having them look at the abacus. Let me show you what I mean. So if we're counting on our multiples of 2 and you've used the abacus, you're going to end up doing this, right? When you're counting them, 2, 4, 6, etc. But what you're going to want to do is they can take a look at the abacus and they can see the beads, but they cannot move them. So they're going to see 2, then 4, then 6, but they cannot move them. So that will help pull them away from the use of the abacus. You will work through part of worksheet 21 together during this lesson, but you're also going to need this worksheet for lesson 44, so you're going to want to keep it handy. Take a look at the section called Subtracting 1. Here, you're going to tell your child that the solution to a subtraction problem is called the difference. This is a good time maybe to review the other operations and their solutions. So the solution to an addition problem is called sum. The solution to a multiplication problem is called product. And the solution to a subtraction problem now is called the difference. In this section, you will ask your child what a number is minus 1, and then fill in the chart. The problems you're going to ask for this section is 10 minus 1, 9 minus 1, 8 minus 1, 7 minus 1, and so forth. However, you're going to want to ask these questions in a different order. While you want your child to see the pattern, you don't want them filling in the chart based on the problem or based on the pattern itself. So you're going to want to mix up these problems. So you're going to say, what is 3 minus 1? Have your child find it on the chart. And then I always had my kids say that problem out loud. So they would actually say 3 minus 1 is 2. And then ask them another one, like 8 minus 1 or 5 minus 1, and then 1 minus 1, and so forth. That way, they're not filling in the chart based on the pattern. They're filling in the chart based on the subtraction problem, but still seeing the pattern. On the top of the second page of the lesson, take a look at the section called Subtracting 2 from an even number. Again, you're going to ask the problems in a different order, not in a specific order, but in a different order. And you're going to have your child find the problem on the chart and then fill in the chart while they're saying that problem out loud. The problems from this section would be like 8 minus 2, 6 minus 2, 10 minus 2, and 2 minus 2. The same thing will happen in the section called Subtracting 2 from an odd number. Again, you're going to want to say those problems in a different order, let your child find it in the chart, and then say the problem as they're writing it in the chart. The problems for this section is 3 minus 2, 5 minus 2, 7 minus 2, and 9 minus 2. The math card game for the day is Subtraction Memory Game. My daughter absolutely loved this game. We don't have a blog for it, but it really is easy to play. You're going to subtract 2. That is going to be the specifics for this particular version of this game. So what we did is we just I put a index card and just put a -2 out there, or you can use a sticky note and put -2 on there. If you prefer, just use the number 2 from the basic card deck. All right, well, let's go ahead and turn to lesson 44. The warm-up section in this particular lesson will have subtraction problems and reviewing the months of the year. Remember, if your child is still struggling with those months of the year, we have a song available online if you need it. Anytime during this lesson, if your child does not know an answer or not sure about it, they're kind of stumbling over it, go ahead and let them use the abacus to confirm their answer. This lesson will continue using worksheet 21, which your child started in the previous lesson. Go ahead and look under the section called Subtracting from the Same Number. Just as with lesson 44, you're going to want to ask the problems in a random order and have your child find the spot on the chart and then say the problem as they're filling in the chart, and then they will see the pattern. Make sure your child is not filling in the worksheet based solely on the pattern. Make sure that they're looking at the problems themselves. Continue the same thing for the section called Subtracting Consecutive Numbers. Now, those equations would include numbers that are next to each other, like 10 minus 9, 9 minus 8, 6 minus 5, 3 minus 2, 2 minus 1. But make sure that you're asking them in a different order, as I've said before. Now, the problems to ask for the section called Subtracting Consecutive Even Numbers are 10 minus 8, 8 minus 6, 6 minus 4, 4 minus 2, and 2 minus 0. The problems to ask for subtracting consecutive odd numbers are 9 minus 7, 7 minus 5, 5 minus 3, and 3 minus 1. Now remember that your child will see the pattern, but again, you don't want them filling in the chart based on the pattern alone. So make sure you're asking the problems in a different order and having your child say that problem out loud with the answer and while they're filling out the chart. Again, there is not a specific math card game listed for this lesson. So you're going to want to go back and play the subtraction memory game that you played in lesson 43. Or if you want, you can choose another subtraction math card games from the games manual, or you can look on our blog page and search out a brand new subtraction game. Next week is Thanksgiving break, so I will not be posting a video next week. If you're behind a few lessons, you can use this time to catch up a little bit. If you're not behind, great job, but I highly recommend that you continue to play the math card games about 15 minutes every day just to keep up your kids' math facts. They lose those so fast, so let's keep the momentum, just keep practicing those math card games, find the games that your child likes, or find new games if your child gets bored, have them pick out a game even. That's it for the week. As always, if you have any questions or concerns about a lesson, or if your child is struggling with something, give us a call or email us. We are here to help. Have a very happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I will see you in a couple weeks when we go over lessons 45 through 48. Bye, everybody.